Church is a place where believers can love one another, encourage one another, spur on one another to love and good works, serve one another, instruct one another, honor one another, and be kind and compassionate toward one another. Throughout my Catholic life, I have completed my reconciliation, baptism, communion, and confirmation sacraments. I attended Mass regularly as a child, but as I reached late middle school and entering high school, my desire to show up at Mass rapidly diminished. I always appeared in church as a favor to my parents, but never willingly participated because I felt I had no reasoning or experienced a big enough tragedy to justify my attendance. I felt I was just physically there and never mentally or spiritually connected with the Word of God or the liturgical music being performed. The Bible expresses the need to attend church to provide an opportunity to worship God alongside His believers and attain insight to gain farther spiritual growth. But as I seemed to question why others came to church and voluntarily gave up an hour of prayer, it wasn't until last year where I ultimately understood the reasoning to attend church when I tragically lost my uncle to cancer and my grandmother to a massive stroke over the summer. It was finally up to this point in my life where I could spiritually relate and had the urge to participate given the reasoning for my close loved ones passing away. I finally came to the realization during the middle of the semester through this curriculum taught and by noticing the different trends of masses in various field studies that weekly attendance isn't just a requirement rather than a desire to worship God, the liturgical music, and the fellowship with other believers. I believe that through liturgical music, I have discovered music in a broader and more personal manner that has brought me even closer to the Catholic Church, as well as my connection with certain family members that have recently departed. I have come to this realization over the past few months while observing at various field study locations and comparing to how I look at attending Mass now versus before last year, that my view on liturgical music has radically changed. St. Francis of Assisi's musical performance was upbeat and modernized and fun to be a part of. This being my first field study, I was taken back by how high the participation level was and was very much intimidated to join. There was a lot going on throughout the Mass, and it was more entertaining to experience rather than participate. At this point, I was still holding back and not fully immersing myself within the liturgical music being performed. St. John's was a completely different Mass than St. Francis of Assisi and was definitely a disappointment in the musical aspect. The lady performing and the organ were way too overbearing and didn't give any incentive for people to join in and participate throughout the Mass. This gave no opportunity for the audience to sing and stay involved with the singer, making it all about herself instead of the entire group. Corpus Christi's music was beautifully performed and extremely enjoyable to listen to. The choir was in a private room, which enhanced the music throughout the speakers and allowed the echo and acoustics to be carried throughout the church. At this point, this was one of my first times I allowed myself to start to sing and fully pay attention to the priest while he was talking. The music wasn't too overbearing and allowed everyone to participate and immerse themselves fully within the Mass. Marble Collegiate's choir was absolutely amazing and the best I've ever seen in my life. They were extremely well rehearsed and harmonized well with each other throughout the entire service. Their voices projected and blended beautifully with the music and gave everyone in the audience the opportunity to fully participate, including myself. I was extremely comfortable singing and being part of the entire Mass, both spiritually and mentally. Especially in the solo, I felt even closer to God than ever, and even to my loved ones as well. St. Ignatius Loyola was by far the best church experience for me. With it being my last field study, I was fully participating throughout the entire Mass and felt connected to the Word of God and the liturgical music more than ever. The community atmosphere provided me an amazing opportunity to feel right at home and welcomed. The choir performed yet elegant and traditional pieces that were easy to follow and really enjoyable to be a part of in the audience. Before this class, I really didn't focus much on going to church or making an effort to go, but through these field studies, my outlook on church has changed drastically, especially within the liturgical music aspect. I believe that knowing and understanding the music played in Mass can have a much deeper understanding when you connect it to something in your life and can give you a reason to participate. Moving from the beginning of class and attending my first field study, I felt I was holding back my reasoning to understand the material presented in class as well as immerse myself in the first field study. I slowly allowed myself to understand the different trends of mass styles and used swaying to help broaden my ideas of current and past liturgical music that is performed in today's churches. I believe that liturgical music can be perceived in various ways depending on how each church presents its music differently, and how some churches do it better than others can completely coincide with participation levels. Overall, my perception of liturgical music has extremely changed over this course, and I believe it has benefited and provided me an extensive awakening of my consideration for attending Mass and the prosperity it has provided me after finding peace with both my grandmother and uncle. Liturgical music has allowed me to grasp how music is intended to be worshipped and how it can be interpreted into anything you want it to. I believe that through liturgical music, anything can be translated over the act of participation throughout the entire Mass.